Welcome once again to another edition of Quote the Raven, Lewis Bright Raven. I'm your host, Lewis Bright Raven, 33-year veteran of comic, science fiction, fantasy, horror, and role-playing games. And it is our first TV talk in about 2 years. Been gone for a while. We're not going to get into the whys and wherefores of that just now. We'll do that next week on our regular Thursday night show. And speaking of the last night show, we had some issues, technical issues that caused some real problems for me. I was getting weird feedback on a lot of different things on voice. And it was just kind of wrecked the whole thing. Not anybody's fault. It was just something we didn't know how to control. We figured it out, though, and so I'm bringing back my guest from last night to talk with us again tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Chris Hall.
Hello, everybody. Happy to be back.
Yeah, and I think we all can hear. It's not, we don't have the feedback today. We don't have anything,
Figured out the audio.
Yeah, what had been going on was Chris's setup is a little bit different than most people. He has his cell phone as his camera, and the cell phone mic was picking up the speakers from his computer and his regular mic, and I was getting all the feedback from all three. And it was just like delay. And I'm like, what in the heck's going on here? So I thought it was my computer, but it was that. So now that we've got that figured out, we won't have that problem again. For those who are wondering why he's got the other thing in there, that's just the separate photo thing there.
I'm running the audio through my computer and the video through my phone.
There we go. So anyway, today's topic is the HBO Max series Peacemaker, directed by James Gunn, starring WWE Wrestling superstar John Cena as the lead character, Chris Smith, aka Peacemaker. Both of us have watched it, so let's go ahead and get into a little bit of talk about it. Peacemaker 2022 season 1, developed, produced, and written by James Gunn, directed by James Gunn, Jody Hill, Rosemary Rodriguez, and Brandon Anderson, starring John Cena, Robert Patrick, Danielle Brooks, Freddie Stroma,
Chukwudi Iwuji.
Yes, I was going to say, I just had to catch a breath. Chukwudi Iwuji, Jennifer Holland, and Steve Aji. Production company is the Saffron Company, Troll Court Entertainment, and Warner Brothers Television and DC Studios. Distributed by HBO Max. The running time was 39 to 47 minutes per episode, and it was originally released from January 17th to January 13th to February 17th, 2022. I just watched it recently from getting the DVD set from the library. When did you watch this originally?
I watched it when it first aired on HBO Max, so it's been a minute, but I enjoyed this series immensely.
Okay, well, we'll talk about what it's about then, and kind of have some fun with this. What it's about. Following the events of 2021 James Gunn film The Suicide Squad, the story picks up following Christopher Smith, aka Peacemaker, as he recovers from his injury sustained from the earlier movie. It's not important to have seen the film, though, as I have not watched that film. Peacemaker is recruited into a new Black Ops group loosely connected to Amanda Waller, who runs the Suicide Squad under the Argus Protocols, Advanced Research Group Uniting Superhumans. Their group is called Project Butterfly, and their task is to identify and eliminate an alien race of parasitic butterfly creatures who have taken over human bodies around the world. What do you think of the commentary I have on John's face?
That's funny.
I'm kind of MST3King this as we discuss it with the photos, so make sure you watch the photos, folks. As the series progresses, we find that Smith is also trying to cope with his past, particularly that of his relations with his father, the Aryan racist criminal known as the White Dragon, who, while mostly retired from his criminal activities, is still a threat to society. His Black Ops group are also trying to learn about each other and become an effective unit, featuring Clemson Yearn, mercenary and leader of the Project Butterfly group who reports directly to Waller. He has a secret himself that gets revealed mid-season. Amelia Harcourt, who's pictured on this one, that's Smith's handler in the field, a solid, no-nonsense Argus agent whom Smith holds candle for. This is one of the scenes that was kind of funny. Peacemaker likes to talk about how his eagerly hugs him, and one of the other agents is like, "Yeah, I call bullshit on that." And so there you go. There's the hug.
I love her character. It's fantastic.
Yeah, we'll talk about her in just a second, but yes, I got the helmet. He's like, "All right, I forgive you."
Right. Yeah, Eagly's great too.
Yeah. There's Leo Adebayo, who was the black female character there. She's the daughter of Amanda Waller, who has been coerced to work in the group as a sort of double agent to manipulate the group and report back to her mother. Adrian Chase, aka Vigilante, a self-proclaimed crime fighter who looks up to Peacemaker like an older brother. John Economos, an Argus agent who provides tactical support for the group. And of course, rounding out the group, last but not least, almost most importantly, is Peacemaker's pet eagle, Eagly, who is quite the character in its own right. And I say its own right because it is, spoiler alert, it's a CGI. It's not an actual eagle.
But they did fantastic on the CGI with it.
Oh, God, did they ever. It's one of the best things about the show.
Yep.
As the group discovers who the race of aliens are and what their agenda is, they cause all kinds of hectic troubles and issues and mischief. And so can they stop this alien race from taking over the world? And in the end scheme, they may find themselves asking whether or not they should even be trying to. This is the character that Amelia Harcourt, and she's in the bar. And if you can't read what it says psychopathic vigilante, so I have to babysit as I try to stop an alien takeover of my planet. And now the Cuckoo Klux is hitting on me in this bar. Just let it all burn. And that is exactly what's going on in the show. And then, of course, she says, "This Smith guy, Peacemaker, is such a joke." And response is, "Oh, you think so? I got a car. America!" Which I love this car, by the way. This is a Mercury Comet painted up like the flag. And it's just like, did he get this from Evel Knievel? I wish they'd said something like that, but they didn't. But anyway, the series. Let's see what you thought of it originally.
Like I said, I immensely enjoyed this series. I like James Gunn's work. It was a little over the top with the slapstick humor, in my opinion. But there was a great plot. There was some twists to it, and the action. And John Cena, I don't think he gets near enough credit for just how fantastic an actor he is.
Okay.
I think
I
he's
mean,
fantastic.
yeah, I mean, he's got a certain way about him as an actor, I guess. I mean, for certain types of roles, and this is a perfect role for him. Um, at the same time, I don't think he'd ever win any Oscars or Emmys.
I think he's got that in him. I think if he took on a serious role, I think he could do it.
Okay, well, that's fair. I mean, all right.
As opposed to, I don't know if like The Rock could
Well,
handle a serious type of role.
hmm. Well, he's done serious roles before.
Not really serious, like not like, Oscar winning performance serious.
Okay. Okay. Um, anyway, I walked into this with pretty low expectations. Because I hadn't seen the Gunn films and I hadn't really been a fan of Gunn's work overall per se. And again, it's a John Cena film, so I wasn't like looking for high bar quality work per se. So there was that. Um, Story wise, I don't know if the plot's okay, but it's not like it's the most original.
Agreed. It's not original, but how
And
they handled that plot, the
yeah,
takeover, the aliens, I think that was pretty unique.
mm, kind of, sort of, but yeah, I understand what you're saying. Uh, a lot of it is predictable though, too. But I thought the vulgar language was a little bit much at times, but that's kind of typical of the HBO Max miniseries. Um, and I did think that the hotel scene where John's hooked up with the chick who attacks him because she's got the alien inside of her, the nudity in that was like gratuitous and wasn't necessary to the overall plot. But once it got past that, um, pretty good stuff. Um, which again, that's not to mean I'm a prude or anything. There's more sexual connotation than say the Doom Patrol or some of the other HBO Max series that we're going to discuss in the future. I just didn't really see like, did that scene seem gratuitous to you?
Yes, it was
Okay.
overdone.
Okay.
I understand it because it's
Yeah.
James Gunn, and I don't. Has Cena had a show out there where he hasn't shown his butt?
Yeah. Right.
I
What
don't
was it?
think so.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. So, but anyway, the other thing that kind of took me out of it, and I'm going to show here real quick, uh, was the scene where Peacemaker has to jump from balcony and back to balcony to escape an arrest, and he keeps tossing this bag full of vinyl records and music CDs from floor to floor, stage to stage. What was the point of that? Um, you know,
I think that was to show that because in the series, it does, if I remember correctly, it does show that he values his objects, his items
yeah,
immensely.
well, he does, but I mean, it wasn't his stuff that he was taking. He was taking this girl's things out of the hotel or out of whatever apartment building, and there was all these '80s albums. But okay, now you're tossing it from stairwell to stairwell. They're not going to survive at the landing.
True, but it was the '80s. That's probably why he did it.
I don't know. It just seems silly. Um, yeah, but and of course he was hitting every stage, his body on every level of the thing. So it's like, look out below. I've already crushed my sternum, my hip, and my soul in albums.
Yeah,
And I ain't no Finn Balor.
every balcony you felt.
I know. Every balcony, he's like, clunk, clunk, clunk. And I ain't no Finn Balor doing a coup de grace.
In this series, he does it humanizes him a lot
Yeah,
because in the movie he was almost seemed superhuman.
true.
So this series humanizes him a lot.
But little things like that did distract me a little bit from the overall work. Casting was very solid, which was somewhat surprising, seeing as how part of the cast consists of Gunn's best friend, that's Steve Agee, and his wife, who is the Jennifer, I can't think of her, Holland, who plays Amelia Harcourt here. While I think that did clearly benefit Gunn as a director due to personal familiarity with everybody, and it did seem to help the overall cast bond and work together, I found it also distracted me as a viewer with prior knowledge, because it made me look at certain story points that make me wonder whether or not anybody in the cast challenged him on whether the scene felt weak or was it gratuitous or whatever. Does that make sense?
It does.
Okay.
And I honestly don't know if anybody challenges Gunn.
Yeah, well, they should. Every director deserves to be challenged at some level.
I agree.
What do you think of that commentary?
It's dead on, because she does play a ball buster. So
Yeah, yeah. But I'm just thinking this is what she's saying to her husband, to Gunn, honey.
oh yeah, right.
Did you play ball busting bitch on the set or in the bedroom? Which would you prefer?
Right.
But an example of one of the scenes that probably needed a little bit more explanation was when Harcourt explains that she already knew that Clemson Mern's condition was what it was and had figured out at a key point in the story where that plot reveal is presented to the audience through Leota Adebayo. Not that this was a wrong thing in the story. It wasn't. It just seemed a little bit lazy to me. Does that make sense to you?
Yes.
Okay. Adebayo's character was quite interesting. She was confused most of the time. Is she a plucky comic relief or a weak wuss with mommy issues? Or both?
I think it's a little bit of both. And if I remember correctly, the fact that she was Amanda Waller's daughter was like a major twist.
I guess it was a major twist, but they didn't do enough with it, in my opinion.
Well, yeah, because if I remember correctly, it was at the end of the show, right? When they kind of.
No, it was revealed slowly throughout the whole series.
Oh, okay, that's right.
But,
like I said, I watched it when it first came out, so I needed to watch it again. I need to watch it again before the second series comes out.
Yes, the second series comes out next month, actually.
Very cool.
All the performances were above average from what I had been expecting. Again, like I said, I don't expect Emmy or Oscar level performances out of John Cena, but he certainly had his moments in this series. The Eagle Eagly is just great. I love that character. I hope it's obvious to people that it is a CGI effect and that people weren't thinking that the eagle was doing certain things in it that it does, because there's no, you can't turn an angle to do those things.
Right, exactly.
But what they managed was just brilliant and very subtle and exquisitely done. Both with the emotional scenes where Chris Peacemaker and the bird are interacting, but also some of the comedic elements involving the bird as well. Freddie Stroma, who plays Vigilante, I do like his costume. I think his costume was really well conceived.
Yes, it was. I think the take on the character was a little
way off.
It was different. Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was
it
definitely
was way
different.
off. Way off of the comics,
but it was still enjoyable.
It fit the motif of what Gunn was trying for. So I'm not mad about it or anything.
Right.
He's more like a comical kid sidekick, and he doesn't really have his own story per se. And the story that he does have is nothing like the Adrian Chase character that I remember reading in the comics.
Right.
So there's that. But again, DC Cinematic Universes versus comics, Marvel Cinematic Universe versus comics. We just have to kind of roll with it. Froma's performance was strong enough to warrant his own separate miniseries, though, I think, if he was given a strong enough story to do.
I could see that. Because I mean, he kicked ass in this series. He really did. Story-wise, plot-wise, and action-wise.
Yeah. I mean, he did some really brilliant stuff in it overall. But I gotta tell you, the two best things in the show: my dope car, and my badass Seagull. I do wish they hadn't like just tossed the flag car like really early on in the show. That was like
Right.
really a shame. It's an awesome looking vehicle and it deserved better than what it got. While I am no aficionado, Chuck House is in.
Yeah. Hey, Chuck.
I was convinced that I would hate the show, but Ceno's so good. Vigilante, I look forward to learning more about him. Eagly rules, yes, he does. Awesome. Thank you for your comment, Chuck. Again, I'm not a car aficionado by any means, but it just looked cool what they did with that Mercury Comet. And it being a classic 1970s era vehicle in modern times, it just reminded me of Evel Knievel. I don't know if people who watch the show know who Evel Knievel is, but he was a stunt person, very popular attraction in the 70s and early 80s.
Yep. I remember I had that little Evel Knievel on the motorcycle that you would rev up and he'd go.
Yes.
That was one of my favorite toys as a kid.
Yep. I literally was expecting to hear a line about how he bought the car off of Knievel as an unused stunt car.
That would have been great.
And it had the proper protections in the car, like a roll bar rack inside the frame and all that. That's what I was looking for that, actually, because like that would make sense. He's a superhero. He needs a roll bar to protect himself.
Right. Yeah.
And it was also the one thing that felt right about his overly patriotic symbolism in the film. It wasn't sarcastic, shall we say, whereas the mobile home intentionally looks over the top farcical. I mean, who paints their mobile home the Stars and Stripes?
Oh, you haven't been to Michigan lately, have you?
No, not a lot. Is that common?
It's happened.
Common?
Yeah, it's
okay.
I wouldn't say common, but yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. The car, well, to me, the car was just the right enough level of symbolism, I guess. But what about Robert Patrick as Peacemaker's dad, the White Dragon? People asked. I like Robert Patrick as an actor. I really do. Very underrated. And he gets kind of stuck in these kind of similar roles all the time as he's gotten older, unfortunately. But he played this one well, but it was like I've kind of seen this character from him before. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
And I almost felt the character was unnecessary. Like there was really nothing for him. There wasn't a lot for him to do.
It was a good subplot though, for what it was.
Yeah.
I love the White Dragon armor, but it does also look like a rejected Dragon Ball Z design.
Very, very true.
And that's why it says, "I am not the final form of Cooler. Do you see a tail anywhere?" Damn manga fans wouldn't know an American villain today.
That's funny. My power level's reaching 9,000.
And the thing is, this is another thing that is kind of like a weakest of the designs because it does look like a Dragon Ball Z design, and because I think Gunn does do his research well enough, and he pretty much got the character's background correct. Peacemaker's dad is not the White Dragon in the regular comics.
True.
But the whole Aryan Ku Klux Klan connections and other stuff was all canon to the character in the comics, so they did that pretty well. So the storyline, what they did with there was well executed, but like you say, was it fully necessary to the plot? It was to give a little more background to Chris's character, I think.
And how his patriotism took a different path than his dad's.
Yeah, I think that's important. And I think it was important to explain why Chris was having the PTSD with his brother's death because of how his father blamed him for it. So
very true.
You kind of have to have that in there. But like you say, they didn't do enough with this character. Wish we had seen a little bit more. And of course, we have to talk about the musical elements of the show. Good Lord. I realize that
Yeah.
Gunn loves his musical interludes and emphasis on music setting the tone and thematic core of his scenes. I do. But it was so very overblown and at times cheesy as hell in this show.
Oh, I didn't even realize that, Chuck. I've seen the Marine, and it's been a minute since I didn't even realize he was the bad guy.
Yep, he was. There you go. That's part again. That's kind of how that happened too, is because of those intertwined connections of familiarity with each other to bring the cast together. I think that's part of why he was selected for that role.
Right.
Go ahead.
Oh, I think we can all be thankful that this wasn't a full-blown Bollywood dance number like in the Marvels.
Yeah, that's true. The Marvels was even worse. But how obscure 80s punk, funk, pop, metal do you have to get here while still trying to make it seem relevant to the plot of the story?
I love obscure 80s punk pop.
Well, it's not that I don't like the music. I'm just sitting here going, how is this relevant? You know,
Right. Yeah.
I mean, there's other things going on in the 80s musically that you could have used that would have fit too. You know, it was just, why are we going to this direction specifically? I was okay with the opening dance number we got the first time I saw it. But by the end of the season, by episode 8, it was just grating on me. Because every time when you watch it back to back to back, and you have to watch it straight through, you can't like pass over it with the way it's set up on the DVD. It's like, oh Lord, I don't need this again.
Oh, I skipped it every time.
Yeah. It's a more farcical and humorous story than what they did with Doom Patrol. Doom Patrol is much more serious, I think. But they have the same sort of mold. I just feel like this series was a little simpler than what they were doing with the HBO Doom Patrol series. And again, we'll visit Doom Patrol next week. This whole month is to be December to remember for DC.
Yep, exactly. Yeah.
But I do like this. Next season on Dancing with the Stars should be Peacemaker and Judo Master.
That's hilarious. Or James Gunn's wife. Yeah, and this is only the first season, so like we don't know where they're gonna go with this. This could, it could get really deep and dark. So
Yeah,
I mean, typically James Gunn doesn't go there, but you never know.
Right. So, he didn't want to do Dancing with the Stars, as you can see. Oh, you don't want to be a dancing partner on Dancing with the Stars? Then we dance the dance of death.
Oh, I completely forgot about that character. Oh, he was hilarious.
Yeah, well, the actor is only 5'1".
Yeah.
And you think he's even shorter because of how big Cena is, because Cena is just huge.
How tall is Cena? Do you know?
Oh, geez. He's not as tall as I want to say he is, but let me check
6'1", 6'1" or something.
I'm trying to see here. No, he's only 6 foot.
Oh, okay.
I was like, is he 6'1", 6'2"? But no, I think he's shorter. So he's just 6 foot. But when you go to a 5'1" guy to a 6 foot guy, that's
that dynamic, and of course that dynamic leads to comedy as well. So,
oh yeah. Now there are things in the series where it's obvious that Gunn is tipping his cap to Alan Moore's Watchmen, which is kind of obvious because Watchmen in itself is actually a tip of the cap to Peacemaker and Judo Master and the other characters in the Charlton universe. But there's other times where he's clearly flipping the middle finger to Snyder and his version of the DCU, in my opinion. It does strike me as childish and petty of Gunn and the Warner execs to do that, but that seems to be the direction they've wanted to head recently. And as Gunn's moving forward as lead man for the DCU, I guess that's just everybody's way of telling the fans who like Snyder's version of Snyderverse to F off. That's just how am I wrong?
No, I think I agree completely. Um, and I liked the Snyderverse myself. I
Yeah, I
didn't
don't think
mind
it was
it.
too bad. I mean, there's questionable things. I didn't care for Ezra Miller as the Flash. I would have rather had the Flash from the TV series as the Flash. Justin
Oh,
Green.
see now, I don't care for Ezra Miller as a person, but I thought he was pretty good as a Flash. That's just my
Okay.
opinion.
Okay.
I was never a fan of Gustafson,
Okay. Well, see, there you go. Um, yeah, 6 of one, half dozen of the other. Let's forget
but
someone else. Totally.
but
But
it may
you
not
know,
necessarily have been Gustafson. It could have been the whole WB, teen angsty drama thing that soured me.
yeah. But overall, this is a pretty decent show. But it's also kind of just there for me. Um, it's average to just above average, I guess, for what typical television is these days.
Sure.
Season 2 does come again in 2025. And I guess it took, since this was filmed in 2021, 2022, it just taking that length of time for Gunn to get around to making a story he felt was good enough to do a season 2, or maybe there was just complications with all the transitioning from Snyderverse to Gunverse or whatever. And it will be interesting to see where the series goes moving forward, although I will have to wait for DVD releases.
So I guess my question is, do you feel that this would merit like a rewatch?
6 foot, that's 6'6" in WWE.
That's funny.
No, not really, because there's so many guys that are taller than John. I mean, Rock is taller, Trips is taller, Taker's obviously taller. Batista was taller. I mean, he was actually played a lot of times. He played the underdog role in the WWE, and people just didn't realize he was doing that in terms of size.
Right.
Um,
I think he was referring to the fact that the WWE characters are, larger than life.
yeah, yeah. Oh no, I'm not disagreeing with him on that, but because they do seem a lot larger than they are. But I give it a rating of 3 out of 5.
Oh, really?
And
Okay.
yeah, and you know, this is what I thought of my review. I'm sure.
See, now I think this is a solid 4.5.
Really?
Yeah. I thoroughly
Okay.
enjoyed it.
Okay. Well, I think for me, um, it's not that I didn't enjoy the show. I think for me, it was just typical of what I expect of the DCU HBO Max type stuff. It didn't stand above that really.
Mm-hmm.
And I had low expectations to begin with. So maybe a 3 out of 5 for me is like a 4 from you.
Well, I mean, for as long as we've known each other,
Mm-hmm.
I find that you tend to have a more critical eye for
Mm-hmm.
things than I
Mm-hmm.
do. I'm more of a okay, let's just go along and enjoy
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
And you have a more critical, well, editor's eye.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And Captain Cranky Pants over here. Yeah. 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 That's what I am. but yeah. That pretty much concludes our discussion on film or on this TV series. We'll probably revisit it again. I want to thank Chris for being kind enough to return so quickly and getting things set up. Let's see what we got here. My TV. There it is. Things that got messed up last night that didn't get shared. If you do like this video or think others might, please hit the like, share, and subscribe buttons to continue to get content from my channel. As always, I thank you for watching and for your support. You can reach me on Facebook at Lewis.BrightRaven, on the X at LewisBrightRave2. You can see my other artwork at deviantart.com/BrightRaven, and I will have an online store soon where you can buy artwork and books and other cool stuff. You're watching Quoth the Raven, Lewis Bright Raven on YouTube. That is the channel, Quoth the Raven, Lewis Bright Raven. You can reach me on email at quoththeravenlbr72@gmail.com. And we got a new subscriber from Chuck. Thank you, Chuck. I appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you, Chuck. Oh, he says, ooh, Doom Patrol. I'll be back for that.
Yeah, we're going to be back for Doom Patrol next week. We're talking about the whole series, all 4 seasons. So it's going to be a little bit longer than this one because there's a lot more to talk about. I've watched the first 3. I started to watch the 4th one a little while ago, and it didn't hold my interest. But there was stuff going on in my life at the time, so that was probably distracting me. I'm going to watch that this weekend and get it all done so I can get my notes made.
Now season 3 of Doom Patrol started losing me.
Well, maybe you can come back next week and we can talk about that.
Yeah. I've always meaning to get to it, but my curmudgeonly ass is always, let me rewatch something that I liked the 153rd time, instead of watching something new.
Yeah, and again, you can also reach me on, if you can't reach me through the Gmail account, try the Yahoo account that you see on the screen.
You gave Peacemaker a 4.
Yeah, that's fair. That is fair. Like I said, I'm a little more critical of things. It's the critic in me, it's the editor in me, but it doesn't mean that I'm right and you're wrong. We're both,
exactly. Yeah.
It's split the difference and give it a 3.5 and everybody be happy.
Yeah. Well, no, everybody's It's like Siskel and Ebert didn't always, agree. I don't remember which one was the critical one. It was Ebert that was more.
Well, both of them were critical of just depending on the film. Yeah. They would they would switch off on different things. But we'll see you next time on that. But before we go, whoops, there we go. It's not letting me do my thing that I want to do. Let's see if the outro that didn't work last night will work this time. So I don't have to speak and read the credits. It does work for a change. Yay. All right, folks. We'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.